Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alisha Brescia here at Cosmic Gateway, and I am joined by my two favorites today. It's been a while between videos, but I just want to welcome Nick and Dale. Thank you for being here. So happy to have you here, and I think this is going to be our Equinox special. So who knows where we're going to go? We've got a lot to cover, but I do want to say that Equinox is coming up in the next. We're recording this on the 18th, so 2 days away, on the 20th of March. And I will be running a transmission activation, which will be an inner earth journey, which is going to be a combination of two things. Focus is going to be on abundance and prosperity for the individual and for the collective. And the second part is going to be about wholeness and integration of masculine and feminine energies, because that has very much been a theme and topic in a lot of my work and the energies that have been coming through. So if you feel the call to join, I will put the details in the description box below. I'd love to have you there. But without further ado, Nick, Dale, how are you guys going?
I'm fabulous. I'll go first.
Okay.
There you go. We should paper scissors.
I always wait for you to start first, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fabulous. Yeah, just I guess lots of shifts and lots of things happening, which seems to be the case for a lot of people at the moment. So I don't think I'm
you're in good company. I don't think
absolutely. And I know we're going to touch at some stage on the masculine shift. I mean, I've heard from plenty of women as well, so I don't think it's just confined to us, but I think there's been a lot happening for us guys, even people that I would not have expected it from, that don't understand fully what's happening there. I can see clearly they're going through shifts. So yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I look at the clients that I've had over the last week and this build up to Equinox and what it's putting people through. And I can say that it doesn't matter if you're female or male, like that masculine aspect has had a massive overhaul, in the last little while. So I will talk about that a little bit later. But Dale, how are you?
Yeah, I haven't been here for a long time. At the moment, I'm doing pretty good at the moment. Actually, like things in my life have, especially after last year, just like so many battles and stuff. But like things are like just. I'm seeing things manifest in my life that like getting back to normal, especially like my work and just my routines and stuff, getting back to normal. I went through done a bit of self-sabotage in the last month. I haven't done just like a lot of drinking and that. Yeah, I just buddy. So I don't know, energetically weird because like I've been getting like mass, like crazy. Like I went for a run last night, like just like crazy time, and then I can't freaking move the next day, like super tired. And then I was speaking to a mate today, and they said the same thing, and I said, like almost describing exactly what I'd been through, and I was like, I'll message you next time I'm gonna get a burst just to see if we're both picking up on the same thing, or if it's just me. But yeah, I'm going all right.
I think that's really important to share, isn't it? Because like if you're going through crazy energy influxes and like ascension symptoms, if you're not in contact with other people going through it, the mind starts to go, what is wrong with me? Is there something physically wrong? Is there something mentally wrong? Is it, but no, you're certainly in good company. The aches and pains today for me, and I find that when we go through the influx of energy, and it comes through the body, then it like somehow goes through the body and the body starts to change on a cellular structure, and it's quite painful. It can be quite painful, especially in the legs. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to get it in the legs, and I'm like, you would think that I'd been working out at a gym, and clearly that's not something that I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, so definitely good to touch on that.
Yeah, it's like the body's been to war. That's really, yeah. But then also tingling with energy at the same time.
Yeah, I think there was I don't know about you guys, but there was a period probably for the last fortnight, and I think it's got to do a lot to do with moving to Equinox. I sort of noticed this pattern over many years that Equinox is always a junction point, and funnily enough, around the 18th, the energy starts to really ramp up and increase. And it kind of pushes us through a threshold. And I think this year's even more intense, but it was like for 2 weeks, it was like I get incredibly tired in the afternoon, couldn't function. And so if I had the time, I'd go lay down and rest or sleep. And then by 8:30, bing, I'm awake and I'm just charging full of energy. And I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And then I've, finally fall asleep around, midnight or 1 o'clock, wake up the next morning and just feel absolutely fucked. Like I'd been out all night on the booze, but astrally I think there's a lot of cleanup that's been happening in the astral state. Does that align with anything that you guys have been going through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had those, I've had those mornings where I've just woken up as if I haven't even slept, a lot more regular than I used to.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if that's part of personally beginning to tune into things a little bit better. You tend to feel these things more than you might not necessarily have noticed them, because you become, how can I say it? Over time, I'm becoming more and more energy sensitive. I used to hear people talk about shifts and, this is happening at this time of year, and I wouldn't feel it. I wouldn't notice it. But then now I'm finding I'm extremely sensitive to it. And even that, so I had a fair bit of a shift early in February and a lot of stuff going on energetically, and I was buzzing but having the moments of soreness and tiredness and things like that. And it was if I was integrating that particular, almost like a frequency, right? And now I'm at the stage where that's evening out, and I am finding, I'm waking up. I'm having more of those mornings where I'm obviously more active at night and I'm waking up tired. Yeah, because my daytimes aren't as hectic.
And it's, I don't know, it's kind of annoying in the beginning when you do become sensitive to that. And I know, like, I've seen it through my own experience through clients, is that as you start to become more light activated, light filled, and whether that activation come through various forms, can come through energy work, meditation, connection through, divine partnership is a lot of the work that I do. When that starts to take place, that sensitivity, and then everything kind of changes, and it can be hard to navigate initially, but then it starts to, you start to get handle on it, and then you can kind of navigate it better, and you realize that it's so, like, I was getting this download this afternoon when I was having my nap, my afternoon nap. It's like, it's so important to switch off and have those times of intermittent rest, whether it's 15 or 20 minutes. It's like a computer system that has to reboot itself, and our bodies are wired in such a way that we need to literally shut down, so that it's like we're assimilating so much information and frequencies and light that we need to kind of re-regulate ourselves in a way. And so napping can do that. It's like we switch off temporarily, come back online, and then we feel refreshed, and then we can go again, So yeah, it's important to listen to the body and not fight it, because I think in conventional way of 3D living, you push through those things. So you work, and you do all that. And then it's just adjusting to a new way of living. Yeah.
Fortunately, I do listen to that. Yeah, go on.
I had one the other day this was the day I was buzzing, and I have to drive to other towns, small work, go to work in different schools, and I was almost running late, so I had to pull over. I was buzzing, and then I went to I'm going to crash the car. I could not keep my eyes open. It just happened within a few minutes. And I said, I'm gonna crash the car. I had to pull it. I only needed 8 minutes, but I was out.
Yeah.
Wow. I
was out. But then, tell me if you notice this too. Time acceleration to me is fucking crazy. Because I wake up, because I know you've been working out, Nick, and I'm trying to get back into working out, but I know people make excuses, but I feel like I have got no time. I haven't got no time for that.
Mm.
I've got no time for nothing. It's like the day's like a 6-hour day now. A
Yeah.
normal like 12 hours of sun, it feels like bloody 6. I've got no time to do anything. but this is what I think I'll tell Alisha, because I went into like self-sabotage mode, and I'm like, I just like can't handle this stuff. And I'm like having a few beers sort of helps it too, doesn't it? Not
Kind
really.
of grounding.
Yeah, but that makes
Yeah,
that
so
makes
I tell
sense.
you, I like getting in touch with the Grand Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it does good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've spoken about that quite a fair bit, and I've never said this on a video, and this can be really controversial, but depending on your frequency, people need different things. So, people go, on a spiritual path, no alcohol, and yeah, absolutely. But sometimes there's a point where you hit an intense frequency that, having just a glass of wine or beer can help regulate that, can help ground you. I share that with some people, and it's really about the programming that we have around things. And I always say everything in moderation, everything in moderation, and what's going to help you in that moment. And that can change daily. So it's like, I always talk about intuitive eating as well, where people will go off meat, but then sometimes they'll, and I see this a lot with clients, is that they might be vegan or vegetarian. And this happened to me. I was, very clean eating for like 6, almost 10 years. And then all of a sudden I had intense cravings for meat. And I realized that my body was asking for that. So obviously there's ways that you can purchase that in, I can't think of the word, help me out, guys, more ethical,
Yeah.
ways and things like that. And, also you can work with the energy imprinting food with energy. You can kind of, give it, blessing or thanks, or work with the molecular structure, as I like to do, to make it pure and clean before you consume it. So, it's, can't believe I've just said that on video, but obviously people need to hear that. So
I've really reduced my meat in the last couple of weeks, and to the point I was only eating, I still didn't even want to eat it. I just, for some reason, I just woke up one morning, I didn't want to eat meat. I just been guzzling fruit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I actually, it's funny how you talked about like food to have that break. And I actually got, that one's only good for a cake. It's too far gone.
That's good. I like that.
I was just, and I had to come down. So I had a pizza to literally bring it down. And in an instant, it brought everything down, and I felt like garbage, but it solved the problem. But I didn't bless my pizza. That's the only thing I didn't do. I'll have to.
They in America they feed them pasta and pizza when there's going to be a prison riot.
Really?
See, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's I've done this with my mates before. We're like, yeah, we're gonna have a big night. We have a few beers and then we order pizza, and then everyone's just, and nothing happens.
Yeah. Because it's like if you like, so people who have your sandwiches for lunch and stuff like that, they wonder why they have a crash afterwards, because your sugar, your insulin spikes, with that carbohydrate, all that carbohydrate. So
yeah, I think it's like the biggest one of the biggest weapons. One of the biggest weapons is wheat. Under wheat, yeah. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt.
This is good though. Moderation, like I said.
Everything in moderation, everything. So, okay, we've got that out the way. Obviously, that needed to come out for some reason. So let's talk about Equinox. Dale, I know you posted something only a few hours ago. Did you want to talk about that? Because
I love
obviously
that. Yeah, do you know why I thought about that? Because like my mum's birthday's coming up. She's born in Equinox. But I was driving back from work today. I don't know. I just got this image of like the Freemason floors, the checkered floors. I don't know why, just come up for some reason. Thought about that. I'm like, oh yeah, Equinox. Oh yeah, checkered floor. But then because Equinox is equal nox night, equal night. That's what it means. So it's like, it's a balance point. night and day. And then that's why I thought of like Freemasonry with the two pillars and the black and white checkers. That's what it, because Freemasonry is bastardized as well because they use these natural flows. That's how they've inverted everything. But like, yeah, the post I put up, this guy, I listened to his presentations for years. I think I've told you at Mark Passio. So so starting from the equinox until May the 1st, they call it, it's the season of sacrifice. So that's, and it goes into like astrotheology, but it's a lot deeper than that as well. But in astrotheology, that is we got the equinox. So if you split the seasons into 4, and then the halfway point of the season, if you split it into another, is May the 1st, and that's when they would traditionally do the harvest. This is in the northern hemisphere, and then you would have, and then May Day, obviously. So you'd spill blood to the gods to get the strong harvest, and this is when they're traditionally done a lot of these big world events and stuff, always in these periods, but the ones that have been manipulated anyway.
Yeah, because they take what is energetic or a portal or energies days, and they invert it, and I guess it's been used for thousands of years in that capacity.
Yeah, but what did you say your transmission is going to be called?
Prosperity and abundance.
So this is it's funny you said that, because that's exactly the reason they did it, for an inverted reason. But so it was for prosperity and abundance. That's what this equinox is about in the northern hemisphere, because you do the harvest to then the marking point of the halfway point between the equinox and the solstice is when this is your time of plenty, when you have lots of food and stuff. So it's funny you said that, isn't it? Because that's exactly the energy of the equinox. That's what it's about. And what was the other one you said? Balance, right? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Balance. That's night and day, equal night and day, dark and light.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I thought when I thought about the Freemason, the checkered floors, was it's that's what the universe is. That's the duality. And we've had big periods of light and we've had big periods of dark. And see, the whole, people say we want to go to the light. Well, there should always be light and dark within that realm of duality.
Yeah.
It's about balancing it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So pretty great. You've called them both exactly what they represent. Did you do that perfectly?
I love that, because I just always tap in intuitively to what is, what wants to come through on that day through the transmission. And everything sort of comes together so beautifully. Like I'll have a thought, and then obviously I do that as a collaboration with Katie Jane and Jen. And then I'll speak to Katie Jane, and she's like, oh, I was getting abundance. I'm like, yeah, me too. And we sort of bounce off each other in that way. So I'm super excited about this one, because I mean, those who haven't joined those transmissions, I think that they're really powerful. And not only just of what comes through that collaborative effort, but it's like the people that can come in and join that space, because it's like having an energy session, really, to help you balance and align your own energy through a guided process. But then I kind of join the energies of everyone to work on the collective level as well. And I've just been getting these downloads for like a couple of weeks now around this tipping point of prosperity, of limitation, lack, and poverty consciousness, and how that's a tipping point. We're at a tipping point to bring, and however that's going to look in 3D, I'm not sure. But is it just being energy displaced in a different way, and then it starts with the energy, and then it can manifest. And it's like, my greatest wish and hope is that being a light worker is not a fun, easy job. We don't get paid very well for the night shifts and the work that we do. And I think that, and even when you look at professions like people in the medical profession and teachers and carers and things like that, get paid shit for the work that they do. And I would love to see this shifting in the collective, where people who do the work from the heart get paid and valued. And then people who run big corporations that are greedy as fuck then they can, they can have their turn, bringing back to that balance, should be balance for all, and what you put in, you should get. So anyway, that's my little rant about the transmission.
Not everyone gets the same. It's input and output.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that everyone should get their worth in what's coming to them, however that looks. So that was medieval, wasn't it? But no, I just think that's a tipping point. And if we're working with that energy, it can take a while to come into the physical, but with the acceleration of what's happening on the planet and how time is speeding up, I think that we could see a lot of that come into the physical, quite quickly. So, yeah.
That's interesting. That'll be interesting to monitor what starts to occur afterwards as you reach it. I did hear Dale. Dale said something about big world events, and you're talking about Freemasonry. Did I hear something about a warning from the AFP regarding terrorism today? All of a sudden, it's not been on the radar for so long, and all of a sudden this morning they're talking about it.
Well, do you know what, Nick? It's that global march is on the 20th, which is the start of it. But
yeah, that's right.
I think people can get a gauge of who and what energies and what forces are maybe in charge of what's going on, what battles based on what's going to play out in this period from March 20 to May the 1st. So I'm not joking. You go back, look up any big battles in wars, terrorist attacks, anything, big shootings, they're always in this period.
Yeah.
Always. Okay.
Wow.
But you know what? Last year there was a real lack of it.
Yeah.
We had COVID, obviously.
Yeah.
We had those deaths, but
yeah.
But I don't know, because I feel like there's got to be something that breaks the camel's back here, because the old COVID's gone away.
It has, hasn't it?
But that's sort of failed.
I was going to say COVID's gone away. Does that mean terrorism's back on the table again? Or?
I almost thought the same thing, because I thought, well, they got to, because it's just that constant fear, and I was kind of, for the first time, I looked at the terrorism thing, and I was just like, how much that's just about fear of the other, because the overwhelming majority of them don't do that. And it was really good to have that side of things off the table for so long, because now it's come back. I'm looking at it a little bit more objectively.
Yeah. ISIS took a holiday last year, didn't you know that?
Well, you don't want Rona. They've got the injection now. They're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, last year was like the first year I barely looked at what was happening in Gaza. So it was just like, I used to always be so triggered by anything that happened there. And then it was like, not a lot. But then the Israelis said they're going to give them all vaccines because, they, after bombing them for 7 years, they decided it's like they care about their health. It's unbelievable.
I'm going to bring up a point, because this has been going over and over in my head, generally late at night when I can't sleep. But, the impact of what happens on the collective based on our own individual experience, process, healing. How much do you think that correlates? Sorry, I'm going to ask you a direct question here, Dale. With your connection with Palestine and Gaza, as you've gone through your own sort of healing process, how much of that trigger has dissolved within you?
Shit, I haven't thought about that.
And how has that played out in what's actually happening in that space?
I don't like to think I'm that important. It would have been, but who knows? Because do you know what I found? My obsession with Gaza, what that is, besides being born on their National Mourning Day, I think that is my victim mindset,
okay,
and what I came into this incarnation through many others, and not just mine, but the collective victim mindset of the whole of humanity. Because people, especially if you look at what's happening now, they've really pushed the victim in the last, I'm not saying people aren't victims, but what happens to like someone that remains a victim is you will continue, we hear this millions of times over, you'll continue to experience the same thing. If you've got a bad partner and you're a victim, your next one's going to be the same. And they're like, oh, but I met them at a completely different pace. No, it's like, and I think we have collectively all incarnated as a whole group of victims. And that energy will always attract an oppressor. So we can't blame that because we have drawn them in because of our, it was meant to be that in a way anyway. It's part of the duality. But yeah, I think that's about losing the, yeah, if you can lose your own victim mindset, that puts it out into the collective, that's got to have some effect.
Yeah.
Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, 100%. Perfect answer.
So Dale said all of that, but he prefaced it by, I like to think that I'm not all that important. But he spoke about the collective and how the individual can impact it. So therefore you're essential and extraordinarily important, Dale. I just want to let you know that.
I mean, yeah, we all are, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe we came in, maybe there's, that's why the ones that have incarnated now have. These are the ones that have maybe been through the most victimhood and have to release that energy.
So in saying that, how does it play out, for instance, going to the rallies on Saturday and standing against government as a victim of government, what we look at as oppression? Are we then contributing and perpetuating that simply by attending, or does it depend what we take there?
I think it depends on the individual's intent. But you know what, Nick? Yeah. I've thought this the whole way through last year, standing up and yelling. So I've been to a lot of them, people are yelling at the police. Yeah. It's like, you know, like I can understand that too. But like, I remember David Icke talking years ago, and he said, what you fight, you become. That's an energy. And he has this suggestion. He used to do this at his talks. He said, how about at the next event that we go to or protest, we don't call it a protest. It's a party. We just rock out, we play the music. And what are the police going to do? You stand around having a party. What, they start picking a few people off? No, whatever. Just keep moving, because that's an energy in itself. And the whole idea of calling it a protest, you're right. That is a specific energy. Mm. I liked when they called it Freedom Day, but like maybe just how about Freedom Celebration?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And like we're just going to go there and bring your picnic, have a chat. Meet some new people. This is like the new nightclub, you know?
Yes.
Meet people in the
Even
park.
I would go to that.
Yeah, that's good. Who knows? But yeah, I'm not saying protesting is wrong. Like that's you know, if you want to voice, like get that out too. But I think eventually when things turn, that's maybe it'll start turning into a bit more or something like that.
Yeah. Which they kind of, so the people who, they named it Freedom Day and then Brady, the guy who started Stand in the Park, he's called it Stand in the Park. And I know particularly Brady, he's a spiritual guy and he kind of gets it. So I think he called it that for that specific reason, and that's sort of growing around the world. So maybe they're slowly all gravitating, because I know in Sydney here, and I've said it before, it's like some kind of hippie convention when you go down there. It's awesome, and it's a really nice positive vibe. So maybe that whole energetics is going to shift, and like you say, end up very much down that David Icke suggested route, maybe.
Yeah, and I think both of those types of people can be there too. Do you know? And like we needed those hard in your face guys at the start, because there weren't many other like people around wanting to do it. So
well, actually, Alisha knows this. I spoke at an event for the Liberal Democrats. They asked me to come and talk on one day this week on getting arrested and the movement, you know, freedom movement and liberty and stuff like that. And I ended up just like, I threw out the stuff I had prepared. I didn't even pull it out of my pocket. And I ended up getting into them, trying to explain to them that they're playing this political game and they're missing out because they need to get out with these other groups if they really want to make a difference. And I explained that there's this real beautiful thing that's happening in that movement. And it's that people from all different walks of life, different beliefs, there's different religions, they're all coming together for the common good. And a lot of them don't agree. And that's one of the really beautiful uniting parts of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what, Nick, like when I went to an Ike event 2 years ago, he said the same thing because someone asked him, oh, what brings all these people together? Because there was a reporter there and you've got buddy 80-year-old women, you got 15-year-old kids, you got Muslims, you got Africans, you got, they're like, what are all these people have in common? And he's like, they just have an open mind and like they want freedom. That's it.
Yep.
It's like there is no race or like image of what that looks like. That's anyone.
No.
It comes in all shapes and sizes and colors. I'm so glad that we had brought this up, because that's like what's been playing a lot in my mind is that, you know, we need the people, you know, when you look at the 3 waves of volunteers and things like that, when you look at the first waivers that sort of came in after the Second World War, you know, they're the ones that took the hard knocks. They're the David Icke's, if you like, and those real, you know, way showers that took the hard hits, you know, for humanity, to really break down and to burst people's minds open. You know, you think about Dolores Cannon, there's all those people in that age group. You know, I think my dad sits in that category, probably your parents' generation as well, Dale. And I like, you know, I salute those people because that's not an easy gig. But then they came in to make the second wave. So it's what I'm getting at is it's a necessary component. We need all the different types of those that are going to, you know, take the hard knocks, and then those people that are going to unify. And I think second waivers and like third waivers, you know, can help. So we all sort of play crucial parts. So there's no judgment in it, but it's really about evaluating the individual motives for why you go to events or what you do. And it's like, where in your own life can you unify or 0 point that victim mentality or that oppression mindset and things like that. And that can really create as a bigger impact by doing that healing work or energetic work or however you choose to do it, as a mass gathering. I mean, if everyone was doing that sort of work within themselves, that has a massive impact in the collective field as well to create change. But I do believe that we do need both.
And you need the automaton robot people as well too, because you know when you go, oh, like if everyone was just like if I always felt like a bit arrogantly, like if there was 7 billion of me on the planet, this would be over tomorrow. Like,
yeah.
But what's the point in that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point? It's like you wouldn't be able to go through they're playing a role. These people that have no bloody idea walking around like robots. Yeah, we need them. They're the frustration we need. Yeah, they're playing a big role, you know.
That's that I've suggested that. So you know how people make fun of sheeple, and people who are going to take the jab, and I sort of look at it almost with I would not admiration's not the word, but I look at them and I go, did you come here to take that and sacrifice yourself for the rest of us? So that's your role. And I even look at this from an immediate family point of view. If my immediate family want to take it, I'm completely comfortable with them. And it might sound a little bit morbid to people, but I'm comfortable with whatever the repercussions are because it's that's for them. It's not really for me. And they're just playing their role.
And who are you, Nick, to force them what to do? Because then you're no different than the agenda that's trying to force you. So, but I mean, that doesn't mean you don't try and stop someone from getting hurt. They're like, mate, there's a train coming. There's a train coming. Now there's no bloody train. There's a freaking train coming. But like, if they, you know, there is a point, you know, you reach that point with someone. I've got mates like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I just don't cross anymore. You want the jab? Take the freaking jab.
Yeah, go nuts. You can have
what
mine.
You want to do. Yeah. Maybe you'll find out the hard way. But
And you know what, how I see it, and this, you know, like I've said this before, and this may come across heartless, but if that's their soul's journey to take that and have an injury or to have some sort of illness, then that could be their wake-up call. A lot of people wake up through illness and sickness and disease and injuries. So who are we, until we know their soul's divine orchestration and blueprint, who are we to judge that? That could be the pivotal moment that makes them,
Do
coming
you know
through.
what, though? It's a fine line between, because you creep into that half sort of new agey stuff where like, it doesn't all matter. But then there's and that's like that nihilistic sort of, because I think about that all the time, and I'm like, well, how much should I bother with this shit? Because at the end of the day, it's all pre-written anyway. My whole journey's pre-written, but do I have free will? Yeah, I do, but I don't. Yeah. But I do, but I don't really. But I still have free will at this moment. I can do what I want now. I have the perception of free will. So, I'm going to sit on the couch or like, I mean, you get engaged. But Alisha, I know exactly, at the highest level, yes, whatever happens, that is their journey. But you know why? Because that's what happened. So,
yeah. I think for me, it's the difference of motive of soul self and human self. And I think when we're operating from our human, we can do things that aren't in our highest good or alignment. But if we feel very strongly guided, I get it all the time. I hate it. I get an intuitive hit to tell a person a message. I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I know if I don't pass on the message, it's just going to haunt me and bombard me, And so it's like, I do that from a pure place, not from a place of wanting anything. So, I guess it's kind of analyzing your own motives for it. Are you coming from a place of fear? Are you coming from a place of goodwill? And so it may be that there will be specific people whose mission is to educate people that the jab's not a good idea, and that's their role, and they should absolutely be doing that if they feel that that's a real driving force. So
I know what you said is true though, Nick, because I'm the same, where I've been telling people about vaccines forever, and no one freaking listened then. And then after I'm sorry, if you didn't listen after last year, that is not my problem anymore.
Yeah. And you know what? And they need Aunt Maggie to drop off to drive that home. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. I don't know. It sounds really cold, but I guess, yeah.
Do you know, in saying that, have you seen that new interview Dale Bigtree put up with the German scientist? No. So this is like, he worked the top head of like Gavi, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's only just stepped out as a whistleblower this week. And he said, like, do not take this thing. He's like, and he said, I'm the most pro-vaccine, probably shouldn't say this words on YouTube, but I'm the most pro-whatever. And he's saying not to do it. I'm like, it's bloody game over anyway.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, you look at even here, where are these politicians disappeared to? They got it and a heap of them are off.
And what's with the mainstream? I've never seen people like, oh, the media's so controlled. I'm like, have you ever seen this much negative press towards a vaccine ever? This is the most I've ever seen. Why would you do that when you're trying to roll out an agenda that's been planned for thousands of years, and you're right at the very end, you're just about to implement it, and you're like, oh no, we'll put out some fake stories.
Yeah.
They're not in control.
Are you the one that said, so, I don't know if you said it before, but it's like some people in the media know and they play the game, but put subtle hints in stories and articles. So they find a way around to still paint the narrative like they're supposed to, but then offer little olive branches along the way.
It has to go through the editor though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just sometimes you'll see interesting wording in articles and things like that. Yeah. You'll think, are they trying to say something here? Are they trying to imply something without saying it?
Well, I've seen people's attitudes change because obviously we've been manipulated through like many different means, but like propaganda. I'm seeing a mind control operation for disclosure as well.
Yeah.
Because people, I'm like, where did you get that opinion from? You do it. No, it's like the mainstream's reported out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if they know it's coming out. So what you're saying is if they know it's coming out, they can start to control that narrative as well and sort of bring it out in the way or distort it to in the best way possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. But you know what they're saying there too, the problem with it is it's causing blood clots. What are all old people worried about?
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, why would you say it have blood clots if you want? It's like the worst thing to say, huh? No. Anyway, it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be an interesting few months. I mean, we always said that it was going to be a bit topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
We hit kind of Easter time. So, and I think, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I do get a sense of completion. There's a real sense of completion happening in, you know, a lot of cycles closing. And, you know, sometimes I kind of cringe at myself. I'm like, I sound like a broken record. I feel like I say this, you know, but there's so many cycles within cycles and but it does feel like there's a big closing out of I know I can say that on a personal level and things that I've been through on a personal level. And interestingly enough, like I had my astrology transit report done last year, and she did say that I was closing out a 15 or 16 year cycle this March that is probably one of the most traumatic astrology transits that a human can go through. So I'm kind of like feeling like I'm at the tipping point at the tail end of that. And you know, I think the beautiful thing of where that's going to go, because you go through the hardship, and I'm going to say this because I know that a lot of people are struggling out there at the moment. I know the energies are wild. I know that it's making people reevaluate themselves in ways that they have never done before, and it's hard, it's challenging to call yourself out on your own BS, your own programs, your own patterns and behaviors. But you know, on the flip side of that, there's a lot of beauty, you know, and there's a lot of ways that you can use all that experience and what you've gained in assistance, in service, in such a myriad of ways. But do you want to go, Nick, in talking about this kind of, I know we touched on it before, but this masculine shift, I know that's quite a big topic at the moment, but I kind of want to expand on that a little bit more, because what I've been seeing in sessions a lot has been, I take notice when I see patterns, and the patterns for me is it's like a purification of like distorted masculine, feminine traits and energies. That so people are almost being stripped bare of these distorted patterns that they've probably carried for lifetimes, and then starting to go through this process of integration within themselves of this more sacred feminine and masculine energies. And that really is what I see a big part of the ascension component is about, is that reaching that unity within yourself. Obviously that throws into, you know, divine counterpart connections, and that's a whole other topic that we won't go into this video. But I mean, I can speak from my own experience, and what that's been like for me is like seeing my, you know, behaviors and patterns in trying to self-sabotage or to protect myself. And so I've called out this pattern of like people getting close to me, and as soon as something seems to go pear-shaped, I just like shut everything down and I explode everything. I'm like, nah, I'm good, I'm going this way. And you know, and that's because I'm trying to protect myself from being hurt. And like that's been bled in my face recently, and I'm like, whoa, I actually do that. You know, and it's good to call yourself out on that and to see those things. And I think it's helping people to have a better sense of self, and like this whole vulnerability thing that's been a theme for a while now. But anyway, that's my part in it. I'm going to throw it over to you, Nick, because I think you've probably got more to shed light on in that.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, from my own perspective, I'm that sense of completion that you're talking about, you know what, that really rung true. And I hadn't made that connection before, but looking from the outside, looking in at a lot of other people I know that are in our sort of circles, I get the feeling like that's happening on a much larger scale. But then there's also this subtle element that I'm noticing that's shifting within the masculine. I've got friends who are very, you know, you would say 3D, very stock standard. and I'm seeing little things where they're now delving deeper into themselves, and they'll post about a book they read, and that particular book might be a book that I read on the way to here. So, well, at the moment I'd go, look, maybe you should have a look at this. I can see they're on that path. And I mean, even some of the women around have said they've experienced a big release. They felt like they've been holding a lot for the masculine at the moment, and they've been able to release that. Even just this morning, I was listening to Todd Medina talking to someone, I can't remember her name, and she was talking about how she'd seen a lot of masculine dealing with a lot of really, really heavy stuff at the moment. So both experientially and anecdotally, there's definitely a shift in that, in terms of that happening. So we're coming, ladies.
Music to my ears. I
We're
mean,
catching up.
music to my ears, because I mean, the work that I've been doing for so long is very focused around females' process and their frustration with masculines not being awake or
Yeah.
aware, or the frustrations that that they have gone through, and to get to this point now, to see the shifts that are happening in relationship dynamics with people who've had years of frustration and things starting to come together for them is so beautiful. Nothing lights my heart up more than to see people go through those massive breakthroughs, and something that they've been working really hard for a long time. So yeah, it's beautiful to see, and it's beautiful to hear you speak about that, Nick. Yeah.
How do you think that plays out? So I hear these women that have been in this space for so long and all of that, as they begin to be able to release, I guess, that burden that they've been carrying, as we sort of start to come along, what does that mean for them? Can they then continue and focus more on their own evolution and that sort of thing? Like, where to for them?
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just going to backtrack and say one thing. So, we were talking about the people who are the catalyst for the the process. And I've never been one to boohoo males. I'm not. That's never been sort of my role or my thought. I have a lot of love for the men in my life and a lot of respect for them. And even in this work, and seeing and feeling women's frustration, but seeing how it plays such a big of part, because it's so vast in their evolution of these men who aren't awake, or so-called awake. I think it's divinely designed that way, to be honest, because it puts them through a rapid acceleration of ascension. And I think that especially in divine partnership dynamics, there's an agreement of a template that comes in that has to be broken through. And a lot of that is around suppression, poverty consciousness, victim mentalities. There's so many different templates. And I think that the struggles that the women go through is bursting through those templates. And so you finally get to a point where that contract is completed. And then all of a sudden he's coming into himself. He's starting to waken up. That's kind of how I see it. It has to create that friction to kind of, move through the scales. I mean, there's a lot I could talk about this, I dabbling in it day in, day out. But I think to come to this point, to see the shift that is happening, it does free up a lot of energy. It does free up, because there's a lot of very deep dive purging that the feminine will go through on behalf of both, because they have the capacity to do that. But I think that it frees up that creational energy of creating and starting new projects and work and things that are going to benefit in sort of the new earth living moving forward. But you need both. You need that feminine to be able to energetically sort of pull that down, and the masculine to kind of create the structure or the foundation. So maybe we're at that point collectively where we're ready to start to build, so that's kind of exciting. Yeah.
Cool. That's a pretty good answer. Yeah, it's just what she does, you know.
I just thought, like, is this why they're doing this last ditch effort with like public figures that we see like winning Grammy Awards and that? Like, did you see that? But like, because you know, you're talking about the feminine going into balance, right? So, and I think a lot of that is them having to hold masculine energy they haven't necessarily needed to, like you said, to take that role. But then, like, so like what they're doing with like the energies and their sexes and agendas and stuff, are like, don't go watch the Grammys. It's only like two. It's disgusting.
Well, I'm completely. I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so like the number one song last year was called "Wet Ass Pussy," right?
Yeah, classy.
Anyway, I haven't seen it, but I saw like a 10-15 second clip, and this was like when they, you know, they've banned Mr. Potato Head and stuff like this. But then I'm like anyone that lets their kids watch that shit, that is disgusting. But you know, like, so I always relate back to my, you know, these sort of things.
No, it's good. We love you.
This is what is this last like ditch attempt to like, yeah. So I always thought it too, because like, you know, like if you want to control the earth, you want to control the earth, you control the mother, you control the woman, including the women on it and the feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
This is why like other people like suggested why the women wear the veil. It's a symbolic thing.
Interesting. There's a lot I could say about that, because then it goes into the distortion of sexual energies too, doesn't it? When
it's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same energy, the same force.
Nick's distracted.
No. I just wanted to see if I can get
Grammy?
No. I want to see if I can get it to work. Oh no, it's not going to work. No. There's a Woolworths have decided to change their chicken boomerang wings to V wings after cultural appropriation claims. And I'm just thinking about like you say, that song. No one's worried about it. It's all right. Stick it on prime time. She's all good. But you can't have boomerang named wings. I don't know. Hurts my face.
They're like, these stories, well, this would have been absurd 5 years ago, but they're like, oh no, they let us do that. Let's go for another one.
I wanted to I pulled out. I came out of the kitchen the other day because I found a pack of no name. They were called like cracker biscuits or something. And I walked out to my wife and I said, "Listen, I've got a new cause. I'm going to stop it because cracker." I said, "We've got to stop this. I can't handle it." This is the stuff I do in my spare time. That's the thin end of the wedge. There's worse.
Oh man.
Take them on.
It's laughable.
Guys, thank you. I think we
ended on that.
What was that?
I just said we ended on that.
Yeah, that's no.
That's it.
I mean, no, I'm contemplating, like, my process is I'm contemplating in my head of like there's a part of me that's going into that song, and like I've seen the cover of that song, and like the fact that thousands and thousands of kids, impressionable kids, think that that's acceptable and that's normal. And if you know, really, or I'm like, do we just wrap it up? Am I going to go on a rant?
Hey, by the way, it's been good because it got Candace Owens in the news again. Because she's having a Twitter war with Cardi B.
Oh, wow. Yes.
And Candace Owens is like, she's the boss.
Right.
She's the boss.
Yeah. The more she's on the news, the better. Yeah.
So what do you guys feel into from like beyond the Equinox point? What some of the things that you feel that we might start to see sort of Easter beyond that time?
Oh man, it's infinite possibilities. I like a lot of people I've spoken to and like myself too. Like I think it's been a pretty tough period for like whatever purpose, whatever, however that's played out in your life. But I, you know, like I feel like there's these periods of shifts, and it's like shit, everything's going to be good, and I don't know what's around the corner. To me, I don't know, but like, you know, taking on with no fear, but it's sort of like now that the COVID's died off, it's it's almost like this big breath out. It's like everyone's just going, oh, you know what I mean? And like I really think that this is going to diminish into nothing within weeks. I also think geopolitically they've got to put Harris in at some point. I think Biden's out. But and you're going to see more courage in the people. And I don't know, I think we're in for like epic worldwide events in the next month or so. But as you've been saying the whole time, it's a change that's going on internally as well. And if what we're seeing on the world is the projection, and you can't change the projection, it's already on the screen. You can't get up and yell at the screen. You gotta change the movie and the projector. So that's that's what's going to happen. I think people are going to step into their power more because they're not going to see it as scary. Yeah.
And you know what? I think back to at the moment, and Dale kind of hit on it anyway, but it's really hard to read at the moment. It's like you said, it's that balance. It's sort of, you're not sure, because 2 months ago I would have said to you, oh, we're going to come into winter, the cold and flu season is going to start, they're going to push the jab, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, but it just doesn't feel like that now. It feels like it could sort of pivot any way, and it feels like one of those times where the most sensible course of action is to not make any predictions, because I fear they'd be really wrong.
Yeah. Well said, guys. And I think that has a lot to do with two things. Like, I think that there is this night shift business that's been going on for a while. I truly believe that is us, I want to say tampering with, that's what the word that wants to come out, tampering with the timelines. And I think depending on the work that we do, it does reflect which timeline is going to form into reality. I mean, ultimately, it will end in the same result. I believe that. But whether it's the shorter version, the longer version, you know, there's multiple timelines that can play out. And you know, I think I said this to you, Dale, going back a week ago, like the intensive work that was happening in dream space. And I know that I was like participating with many people, and the message that I kept getting was that you're working overtime because there's like this blanket of energy that's being anchored into the planet so that we can access the highest timeline for humanity. And you know, I think I'm just very blessed that I have very good dream recall, to kind of get a grasp of what's happening in those, you know, upper dimensional levels, and the fact that we're all working overtime. I mean, we have been for years, let's face it, but it felt very intensive. And so, we could be moving into, you know, a smoother, but it could change. And I think you can feel that in your own experience too, because you can have that feeling of, oh, like everything's fine, and then you have intensive you know, outbursts of like fear or anxiety or, you know, whatever. And I think that's when we're tapping into the different timelines. That's my perception of it. But you know,
I want another lockdown. That's like, I'm like, give me another lockdown, come on. Yeah, just one more. I want one more hard one. I really do. I just want to see the reaction. I want to see what people are going to do.
Yeah, but if they do nothing, we're just
no. One more hard one. I reckon it's
well, you know what, Victoria, you can. It's fine. Just not the rest of us. Leave us out of it.
Well, I mean, that's a possibility too. I think it's just whatever is going to get the ultimate best outcome. And sometimes it has to be brutal. Sometimes it's more gentle.
Yeah.
True.
But I wanted to close off with this quote that I kind of wanted to segue into in the beginning and forgot. And it's I think it's Paulo Coelho quote, but the world is changed by your example, not your opinion. So just throwing that out there in closing, what does that mean for you guys?
It brings me back to that I think we mentioned it earlier about working on you, and then sort of that goes out into the collective and maybe being focused more on that. That's just for me. Yeah.
Right. I think it's what is it? Be the example, not your opinion.
Yeah, the world is changed by your example, but not by your opinion.
Yeah, I think it's like what I said before. It's like yelling at the projection, wanting it to change, and being a hypocrite. Why are they doing that? Or like, it's about introspection, looking at yourself, and the most important part of spirituality, which is example, is action, doing something. Yeah. Not just thinking and talking about it, but doing it.
Actually putting it into action. And I think that's at a point that we're all at in our own individual ways, but it's like you do the inner work, then you can take the action. They sort of go hand in hand, but you can't have one without the other. Back to the masculine and feminine, if you look at the energetic work being more of a feminine component, and then the action orient through the masculine. So beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. I've so enjoyed this. I hope that everyone has enjoyed watching. Hopefully we can have Donovan on next, bring the original crew back together. And but yeah, thank you, Dale. Thank you, Nick. I just love connecting with you in this way and hearing what you have to share. So until next time, everyone, I hope that you've taken something out of this, and just sending much love your way. I'll catch you soon. Bye.